Christmas in Cedar Rapids is usually quiet, the kind of quiet where you can hear the snow crunch under your boots from a block away. But inside my house, the silence was deafening. I was 56 years old, lying on my own hardwood floor, looking up at my stepson, Kyle. He's 32, built like a linebacker, and possesses the arrogance of a man who's never had to work for a single thing in his life. He had just shoved me out of the head of the table. My father's chair, the one I'd painstakingly restored with my own hands, was now his throne. "That seat belongs to my real dad, Tom," he sneered. "Get out." I looked at my wife, Linda. I waited for her to defend me. Instead, she looked at the floor and started blotting a gravy stain on the wood. In that moment, I realized I wasn't her husband. I was just the guy who kept the lights on. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. At my age, you realize that some battles aren't worth winning if the person you're fighting for doesn't care. I grabbed my coat and walked out into the sub-zero Iowa night. I drove to a small ranch house I'd bought years ago, a property Linda didn't even like to visit because it was too small. As I sat in the dark, my phone chirped, a credit monitoring alert. My heart skipped. Someone had just attempted to pull a hard inquiry on my credit for a $25,000 personal loan. I opened my banking app and saw something that made my blood run colder than the wind outside. A bridge loan for $18,400 had already been approved and cashed out 2 weeks ago. The guarantor's signature was a shaky, cursive Tommy. That was the name my father used for me. Someone had dug into my private files, found my father's old letters, and forged my name using a dead man's memory. The next morning, I didn't call the police yet. I called Frank Delaney. Frank had been my father's attorney and best friend for 40 years. When I walked into his office, he didn't ask how my Christmas was. He looked at me with pity. "Tom," he said, sliding a silver USB drive across his mahogany desk, "your father was a cautious man. Before he passed in hospice, he told me that Linda's ex, Ray, had been sniffing around your finances. He told me to give you this drive only if things became unbearable. I saw the police report you filed this morning for identity theft. I think we've reached unbearable." I took the drive to a local diner, sat in a back booth, and plugged it into my laptop. The drive wasn't just files, it was a digital diary of my own betrayal. My father had installed a small, motion-activated camera in the garage workshop where I kept my filing cabinets, the ones Linda thought I never checked. The footage was clear as day. It showed Linda and her ex-husband, Ray, going through my tax returns and Social Security papers while I was at work. But it got worse. There were recorded phone calls between Linda and her sister. Linda was complaining that I was too boring and that Ray was the excitement she needed. She admitted that she only stayed for the kitchen remodel and the stability I provided. She was waiting for me to hit 60 so she could claim half my retirement and walk away with Ray. The $18,400 loan, it was Ray's startup money for a failed landscaping business. My sweat was funding her lover's fantasies. I didn't go home and scream. I went to the sheriff's office first and handed them the USB. Then I drove to the house. Ray was there, sitting in my chair again, acting like the man of the house. Kyle was laughing at some joke Ray told. "I hope you enjoyed the seat, Ray, because it's the last thing you're going to enjoy for a long time." Linda started her usual "Tom, let's just talk" routine, but I turned the laptop screen toward her. I played the video of her and Ray in my garage. The blood drained from her face. I played the audio of her sister's call. Ray tried to stand up and act tough, but the front door opened. 2 deputies walked in. "Kyle Parker, you're under arrest for felony identity theft and fraud," the deputy said. Linda started screaming, but I just looked at her. "Oh, and Ray, the house is in my name. You have 10 minutes to get out before I charge you with trespassing." The legal system in Iowa doesn't play around with elder abuse or financial fraud. Kyle took a plea deal, 3 years probation and a massive fine that he'll be paying off for a decade. Linda lost everything in the divorce because of the infidelity and fraud clauses Frank had helped me put in our prenup years ago. She's living in a 1-bedroom apartment now, and Ray, he disappeared the moment he realized there was no more money to steal. I moved my father's chair back to the ranch house. I spent a week refinishing the wood, getting rid of the scratches Kyle had left. Sometimes the house is too quiet, but then I remember the sound of that gravy hitting the floor and the look in Linda's eyes. I'm 56, and I've learned one thing. Your name is your credit, and mine has never been cleaner.